Hey guys, this is Hayden here again, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about the 7 habits of highly effective people, because it's a really good book, guys. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend this book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It's a good one. It's more about paradigms in my view than it is about habits. It's about ways of going about and viewing life, as opposed to actual actionable things like brushing your teeth or waking up at a certain time in the morning or working out every day. Those are what you think about whenever you think about habits a little bit more. So this I would call it more paradigms, but there's 7 of them, and I want to talk a little bit about each 7 of these. Now, just kind of give a summary of the book. This book breaks your life into 7 different things that you could do to be more effective. The first 3 of those things have to do with you. It takes you from being a dependent person to being an independent person. The next 3 habits have to do with others, your relationship with others actually, which take you from being someone who's only independent to someone who's actually interdependent, meaning that you're working with others as well. So that's the next 3 habits. And then the final habit actually allows you to be more effective with the other 6 habits, okay? And this one's called Sharpen the Saw. So I want to go over each one of these habits and just kind of give an overview of it. Now, the first habit is be proactive. Now, to be proactive, this is the opposite of being inactive or reactive. Being proactive speaks of creating. Being proactive speaks of living by a specific set of principles that govern your life. Rather than your emotions governing your life, you're feeling great so you do what you want, or you're feeling bad so you don't do what you want, you do what you didn't want to do, but you still enjoyed it because you were feeling bad and it made you feel better, a bad habit, right? Now, being proactive means that you're overcoming that by living by a set of principles and values that govern what you do. It's having a plan. It's setting things in place so that you can succeed. It's taking initiative. Being proactive means to take initiative with your life. Take some initiative. I mean, why would you not want to take initiative with your life? Why would you not want to create your life? You have the power to create your life. So being proactive means you're no longer being the victim of your life or what happens to you, but you're being the victor of your life and what happens to you. You're no longer the victim, you're the victor. Now, proactivity isn't something that needs to be overlooked. And it's easy to become inactive or to become reactive without even realizing that you're doing it. So this is something that you also have to continually check yourself on, along with these next 2 habits. You have to continually check yourself on this, almost as a plumb line, to make sure that you're lining up with this principle of being proactive. So the second habit, that's the first habit, is be proactive. The second habit ties into being proactive, and that is you're creating a vision for your life. And the way he says it in the book is to begin with the end in mind. To begin with the end in mind. So with what you're doing, with the choices that you're making, begin with the end in mind. If you were sitting on your deathbed right now and you were asked the question of what are you doing with your time, what should you have done with your time, what actually mattered and what didn't matter? Did checking Facebook every 5 minutes matter, or did spending some more time with your wife and kids matter, or did your relationships matter more? And at the end of the day, relationships are the things that carry us, and that's kind of the premise of this chapter, is that your relationships are the most important things in your life. So you better be about your relationships. But it's more than just on your deathbed and the overarching values that are important. This begin with the end in mind. It's also just about setting goals, having a life vision. In the Bible, it says that without vision, the people perish. Other translations say that without vision, the people cast off restraint. If you're not going to see, then you're going to die. You're not going to live out what you could have lived out if you're not having a clear vision about where you're going. If you don't have a roadmap to where you need to be going, then you're not going to get there. And if you happen to stumble there, it was by pure luck. And the thing about successful people, highly effective people, is they're not relying just merely on luck. They're putting themselves into a place to where they can become lucky. So that's beginning with the end in mind. Next, we have putting first things first. This is the third habit of the 3 in this first section, which is all to do with your relationship with you. Put first things first. And what this means is, what are you doing with your time? And is your time, what you're doing with your time, actually lining up with what you have as your goals and as your principles in your life? Is what you're doing with your time adding up to what it should add up to? Are you doing the right things with your time? Or are you being wasteful with your time? Are you putting what needs to go first? Are you prioritizing that which deserves priority? Or are you spending your time on things that don't deserve your time or priority? You know, are you sitting around playing video games or social media, looking through and scrolling through? Are you actually taking the time to exercise? Are you actually taking the time to develop relationships? Are you actually taking the time to work on your career or work on school? You know, it's putting first things first. You know, often we split this in the wrong way. We should be spending at least 80% of our time on the things that are necessary to do, the things that we plan into our life, and the things that we have an ethical obligation to perform within our society, as wherever you fit into that society, right? Whether you're a father or a mother or a child, or just a person living in life right now, right? You have an ethical obligation to do certain things, right? In order to be in society. You know, if you don't work, you don't eat, right? So we have work, we have relationships, we have different things that are necessary in life. And then we have recreation. Now, what's easy for us to do, especially at a younger age, is to flip things around and actually spend more time with recreation than we do on the things that are actually necessary for our life. We spend more time wasting our time than we spend on the things that we need to be spending our time on. So putting first things first is important. An exercise that can help you with putting first things first, it's not in the book, but it is to do a journal log of your time. Get a printout. I did this recently and it was great. Get a printout, 15 minutes, every 15 minutes on the dot, journal what you did with that 15 minutes. And start to recognize, hold yourself accountable to what you're spending your time on. I guarantee you're not going to want to write wasted time playing a video game, or wasted time on Facebook, or spent too much time playing tennis, you know, and whatever it may be, right? We don't want to be wasting time. We need to put first things first. You have to have the ability to prioritize what matters. You have to have the ability of laying down the things that don't matter, right? You need to live by a set of principles. It goes back to that proactivity. You're living by a set of governed principles within your life of, I am a healthy person. That means you're exercising regularly. That means you have good hygiene. That means you're eating right? So if you're living by that principle, then the other things are going to fall into place. And if you're not being proactive to maintain the principle of I want to be healthy, then you're going to allow that to fall by the wayside. You're not going to put first things first, and you're not going to begin with the end in mind. What's the goal? What's the end result? Is health, right? That's the beginning with the end in mind of being healthy, is health. Being proactive is ways in which you can incorporate health into your life and actively performing them despite the way you may be feeling in the time. And then you have the next one, which is put first things first. I mean, if you're trying to go out and exercise and you don't even you go out to your gym and then you watch YouTube videos, you're not putting first things first in that moment, right? You're supposed to be spending that time exercising, and that's what putting first things first is. Now, all of these first three habits in this first section allow you to become independent. They take you from a place of dependence to independence. Now, these next three habits are seeking to take you into a place of interdependence. Now, once you become independent, you can then be interdependent with others, which means you're in a relationship with others that mutually benefit you both, okay? So now let's talk about interdependence, or let's talk about these next three habits, actually, which create interdependence within you. The first is to develop win-win relationships. Now, the fundamental truth within this habit is the belief that there is abundance. The belief that one person that's sitting next to you and is a friend of yours as well can also be successful in their endeavors. It's not a lose-win or a win-lose scenario. You have a belief in abundance that everyone around you can win, and you don't have to cause others to lose in order for you to win, and you don't have to lose in order for others to win. Now, if it's not going to be a win-win, it needs to just be no deal in your life. If this doesn't mutually benefit you, you need to walk away. If this relationship is not mutually benefiting you both, walk away from it. Stop the relationship. Because it's no deal. So create win-win relationships within your life. You have to be proactive to do this, right? You have to be proactive. You can't be inactive and you can't be reactive, or you're not going to sustain win-win relationships. You have to create win-win relationships, and this ties over into business as well when it comes to creating contracts within business. If it's not a win-win for you both, then don't do the deal. It's not a deal if it's not a deal, okay? Just call it what it is. Call it not a deal, and be okay with that and move on to the next thing. Now, next we have, after creating win-win relationships, the fifth habit is to seek first to understand and then to be understood. This is the whole principle of you have 2 ears and you have 1 mouth. This means you need to be listening twice as much as you speak. But more than that, this is all about the relationships that you develop and how you develop the relationships and how you're seen in relationships. Are you the type of person that actually listens? Are you going to be the type of person that actually listens? And this is more than just active listening. This is more than just being able to regurgitate what someone has said to you. This is the ability to do what's called empathic listening. And this is your ability to actually dissect what the person feels with what they're saying. Dissect the feeling around it, the reason behind what they're saying. They might be saying that they might be maybe you have somebody mad at you and they're derailing you in some way, talking about the things you did wrong, right? But in reality, they felt like they were that they weren't valued in the relationship, right? So what you want is to recognize and call out possibility that you haven't valued them, and accept it and be like, I really feel like you're feeling that I haven't valued you, and I'm sorry. You know, that's seeking first to understand. You're understanding that person empathetically. You're empathizing with that person. You're understanding the way they feel. You're taking on those feelings and emotions, and you're truly understanding them. That's having the ability to seek first to understand. Now, whenever you actually understand someone, then you can better be understood, because they're actually going to be able to hear you because you've opened them up. So you want to seek first to understand and then to be understood. And then you have the sixth habit, and that is to create synergy within your life. And what synergy means is that you can get more done with others, basically. It's the opposite of trying to be just straight up independent. This is you're realizing that interdependence is necessary if you're wanting to accomplish all the things that you're trying to accomplish. I just had some weird seed in my head. But if you want to really be effective and more effective in life, then you're going to have to utilize the gift mixes of others. You know, I think of the word of collaboration whenever I think of synergy. You know, synergy is the ability to have a team that does something more than what you could just do alone. And that's synergy. So create synergy within your life. Actually understand and value others. Seek to see the value and the gold in your relationship with another person, and how they benefit and how they help you and how you benefit and how you help them and what you can achieve together. And that is synergy. Create synergy within your life, within your relationships. Create a synergy. Within your marriage, create a synergy. Within your friendships, create a synergy. Understand each other. Understand what it is that you guys are trying to accomplish together and how you can help each other to accomplish that. So those are the first 6 habits. Next, you have the 7th habit, and this habit is called sharpen the saw. This habit is the overarching umbrella that covers the other 6 and causes you to be able to be more effective with the other 6 habits. It gives you the ability to be more proactive. It gives you the ability to have more win-win relationships. It gives you the ability to seek first to be understood, and then or seek first to understand and then be understood. Sorry, I got that backwards. Which we often do, right? We need to be reminded to not do certain things, and that's where this habit comes in. And this is the sharpen the saw habit. And the author gives an analogy of a man who comes up to a man that's trying to chop down a tree, and the man asks him, how long is this going to take you to chop down? The person, gives so many hours, I don't know, like 6 or 8 hours, something like that. It's going to take like 6 to 8 hours. He's like, well, you should spend an hour sharpening the saw. The person's like, no, I don't have time to sharpen the saw. I need to get this thing chopped down. Well, then the person that tells him to sharpen the saw tells him, well, you'll be able to get it chopped down in 3 hours if you just sharpen your saw. And it's the whole principle that if you work on yourself, then you will be more effective to do what needs to be done in your life. And without working on yourself, you become dull. And if you're dull, you're not going to be as effective, meaning that your time is going to be wasted. Even though you're working just as hard, you're not going to get as much accomplished without sharpening your saw. And this is a fourfold sharpening. You're sharpening 4 things. You're sharpening your spirit, your heart, your innermost being through prayer, through reading the Word of God, through mentorships, through church. You're sharpening your spirit, right? Or however you might sharpen your spirit if you're not necessarily a Christian, right? You sharpen your spirit through prayer, right? You talk to God, and God talks to you, and you become sharper. You understand what you shouldn't be doing with your time, money, and affections. Your spirit. Then you have your physical sharpening, and this is what you could do to be healthier, right? You want to be spiritually healthy. You want to be physically healthy as well. You want to be mentally healthy, and you want to be socially healthy. Those are the 4 things. You have mental, you have spiritual, you have physical, you have social. So you want to sharpen all 4 of those areas. So you can sharpen your spirit through prayer and other things. You can sharpen your physical through exercise, eating healthy, good hygiene, like brushing your teeth and flossing and showering every day and washing your hands so that you don't get sick as often. All those things are physical ways to sharpen yourself. And then you have cognitive sharpening. This is through flashcards, through reading, through listening to teachings, through audiobooks, through flashcards, through teaching others, through actually what I'm doing right now. I'm actually sharpening my cognition by creating this video. This is actually this right here is a part of me sharpening my saw, right? This is me sharpening my saw, but it's also creating synergy. It's also creating win-win relationships. It's also giving me the ability to be understood because I understand what you're going through. I understand the difficulty of feeling ineffective, so much so that I want to talk about it, right? Now, sharpening the saw isn't something that you need to overlook. It's something very important. There's 7 habits of highly effective people. I think he came out with another book I'm going to have to read called The 8th Habit. Obviously, marketing ploy, right? He's just smart, but he's also wanting to help. Obvious, it's twofold. But I'm not just trying to be straight up cynical. But so 7 habits of highly effective people. It's a great read. I wouldn't really necessarily consider them habits as much as being habituated, because habits to me are much smaller. I'm going to talk about a different book called Atomic Habits, which is just an amazing book. You guys definitely need to read that. I actually recommend that one before 7 Habits, but 7 Habits is great. So the 7 habits: be proactive, begin with the end in mind, put first things first, develop win-win relationships, seek first to understand and then to be understood, create synergy within your relationships, and sharpen your saw. I'm Hayden Owens. I don't know what to call this channel yet. Peace.